Welcome to MCT News with Uma Muhammad, Gloria Muka, and Hanan Omar.
Alfred Wegener was a scientist that had a theory of continental drift. Continental drift is Alfred Wegener's theory that all the planets started off together, creating one supercontinent, Pangaea, and slowly is splitting apart throughout time. I think that people didn't believe Wegener's theory because they did not feel themselves moving. Alfred Wegener used fossils Glossosaurus and Mesosaurus to help prove his theory. Glossosaurus and Mesosaurus were fossils that were all found in the southern continents. Wegener's explanation for the continent movements were that the orbit of the Earth were moving the continents, which is actually false. People think that the moon has a part in the continent's movement, and that is also true. The gravitational pull of the moon and its orbit around the Earth creates flows in the ocean during particular high tides. Volumes of water push through coastal areas, and this can rise the stress in pre-existing fault zones, causing many earthquakes. The moon does have an effect on the continent's movement.
Harry Hess was a scientist that supported Wegener's theory. Hess was a Navy officer and had many opportunities to use echo sounding. Then he used the new technology to map the ocean floor. In 1962, he published a book called The History of Ocean Basins. In his book, he had a theory that could explain how the continent could actually drift, which is also known as seafloor spreading. Seafloor spreading is the process by which plate tectonic move to create new oceanic lithosphere. He also discovered that the ocean were more shallower in the middle and identified the presence of mid-ocean ridges. Two other scientists that supported Wegener's theory are Vine and Matthews. Vine and Matthews' work revolved around the pattern of magnetic strips. They hypothesized that the magnetic stripe were not a coincidence, but it indicated the fact that the Earth's magnetic field was actually switching direction over time, from its normal direction to its opposite direction.
Four layers to the Earth: the inner core, the outer core, the mantle, and the crust. The crust is the layer that we are on. This is the layer with tectonic plates. The oceanic crust is 5 to 10 kilometers thick, and the continental crust is 30 through 45 kilometers thick. The crust is made out of many different types of igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks. The crust temperature is 870 degrees Celsius in deeper sections. At this temperature, rocks begin to melt and start forming the below-lying mantle. The mantle is the layer behind. The mantle is the layer below the crust. The mantle is composed of silicate, magnesium, and iron. The mantle's temperature ranges from 500 to 900.
Hotspots are when mantle plume is melted over the surface of a volcanic area. As plates move over hotspots, new strings of volcanic mountains are created. The age of a volcano can tell us the time it was situated over hotspots. Hotspots support the ideas that plates move over Earth's surface. As mountains are building, flat-lying sedimentary rocks and volcanic shot rocks are shaped into wave-like ripples called faults. There are three main types of faults: anticlines, synclines, and monoclines. Anticlines are the most common, and they are shaped by arching of rock layers. Synclines are shaped by downfolds, and monoclines are large, stair-like, and seem to happen when sedimentary layers are laid upon underlying rocks. Faults are fractures in crust along where movement has occurred. There are many different sizes of faults. Above a fault, the rock surface that is there is called the hanging wall, and the rock surface that is below a fault is called the fault wall. There are four major types of faults. The normal fault happens when hanging wall block moves over down to the foot wall. Most of these faults are at a 60-degree angle, and they flatten out with depth. Reverse faults are when a hanging wall is much higher than the foot wall. They are at degrees higher than 45. Thrust faults are the same as reverse faults, but they are at less than a 45-degree angle. Strikes of faults are when movement is horizontal on the same level as a strike of a fault structure. These faults are of large sizes, and so they are visible from afar. Well-known strike slip faults are the San Andreas Fault in California. The process that produces mountain belts is called orogenesis. The mountains that are created mainly by folding are called folded mountains. Thrust faults are a important aspect of creating folded mountains. Rip valleys are lowland regions that develop because of plates moving apart or divergent plate boundaries. Oceanic ridges are a system of mountain ridges that are underwater. They form because of divergent plate boundaries also. Oceanic trenches are features of convergent plate boundaries. They are long, narrow indents on the seafloor. Volcanoes have three types of magma. They all have different chemical composition, and they all have different heats: basaltic, andesitic, and rhyolitic magma. Basaltic is the hottest, rhyolitic is the coolest, while andesitic is intermediate. However, the gas content is the basaltic magma has a high gas content, andesitic has an intermediate, and rhyolitic has a low gas content. Shallow and deep focus earthquakes are both earthquakes, but they come from different depths of the earth. Shallow earthquakes are created by faults and movements of continental plates, and these earthquakes are closer to the Earth's surface. Shallow focus earthquakes are a great distance and destroy large parts of the Earth's crust. They come at random, and they are most apparent, but we never really feel them because they don't have a lot of magnitude, so they don't have a lot of power for it to actually destroy your house. But most of the percentages of earthquakes that we do have are shallow focus earthquakes. And deep focus earthquakes are the destructive earthquakes. They happen when subducting oceanic plates go under continental plates, and these earthquakes are deep in the earth, so they come at a deeper points of depth. Deep focus earthquakes happen when two tectonic plates slide together and is followed by subduction. These earthquakes have a lot of power, so these are the ones that you actually do feel and that actually destroy people's houses.
Technology has gotten better throughout time for monitoring and tracking volcanic, tsunami, and earthquake activities. Some technology that we use to record volcanic activities are instruments that detect and record earthquakes caused by the eruption of the volcano, which are seismographs and seismometers. We also use camera to help us record how much lava is moving underground. Some technology that we use to record earthquakes are, like I said, seismographs and seismometers, etc. Technology that we use to record tsunamis are buoys, and that helps us record the length and change in the sea level. Marographs also help us detect the change in the sea levels. We can't say that we're pros at tracking and monitoring these activities, but we do have technology to help us prepare for when these activities occur.